Academy, we're a progressive martial arts school. We focus on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Jeet Kune Do, and Filipino martial arts. What my guys are going to demonstrate to you today is some of the Filipino martial arts that we do. So they're just going to go ahead and get started while I talk. A lot of the Filipino martial arts that we do, they come from different parts of the Philippines, and they involve different aspects in martial combat and in the art aspect. They involve many more weapons than what we have right here. We've got Arturo and Adrian doing some sombrada over here with this stick over on my left. Sombrada comes from the word sombra. Sombra means to cover, and you can see they're flowing in between what we call 6-count sombrada and 10-count sombrada, and there's 10 counts, 5 for each person. And this is a common training method with many of the different Filipino martial arts. What we do is we spend the majority of our time, about 98% of the time, we spend with a real person in front of us. And what that does is it increases the learning curve so that you're able to pick up movements and techniques much faster. And so instead of training something statically in the air without a real human being in front of you, you have somebody that's constantly there in front of you, and you're able to change with them different body types, different techniques that they might use, different ways to perform each technique. Okay, so as we take a look at what they're doing here, they're going to slow it down just a little bit for us, so you can see it's really a basic attack and defense technique where Arturo would defend, then attack, then defend, then attack, and Adrian would respond. We can pick it up a little bit now. And they'll flow in from different ranges. 6-count sombrada and 10-count sombrada will use the medial range, where Arturo and Adrian can both touch each other's weapon hand with their open hand, or the alive hand that we call it. Then they can move in to a closer range, corto, they'll move into a puño sombrada, and the puño is the end of the stick closest to the hand. So it's when you're too close that you can't hit with the end of the weapon, you'll use the end of the weapon that's closest to your hand, the butt of the weapon. Then closer than that is hubad range, and hubad means to tie and untie. Hubad and lubad, and then they'll move back out into the medial range, where they can do back into 6-count sombrada, 10-count sombrada. You can also do what's called free flow. They'll just kind of move around and do whatever comes to mind. The only rule there is that it has to be I attack, you defend, you attack, I defend, and vice versa. You've got various disarms that are available to you during this process. Your idea is to enter in the midst of the flowing event and do your disarm unbeknownst to your training partner. What you just saw there was called the strip. That's a strip where he strips the weapon out of Adrian's hand. So this creates a kind of a fluid environment. So it's a constantly changing, what's called a snake, constantly changing environment that they both have to react to. So moving into the center, we have Anthony and Phil, and they're doing a drill called palasut. 6-count palasut. Palasut means to sneak, depending on where you're from in the Philippines. And it's a knife drill. You can see that there's some redirection and some checking going on with the knife, and it's also a flowing drill that they can flow in and out of this drill into. Also, they can also start doing hubad with the knife. And so they can start doing hubad with the knife. They can do a little bit of free flow. This is hubad with the knife right here. And they'll move in and out, back into the drill, into a little bit of free flow. And different from using the stick, the knife and the sword make you have to respect the weapon because it has an edge on it. And so you can't just simply touch the weapon like you can with the stick. So when you saw Adrian and Arturo doing what we call the strip technique, the strip was a disarm that involved grabbing the stick. And so obviously that's not a technique that you could really do over here with the knife or with the sword. And then there are various disarms That's called a quick release disarm. And it can also be done on the ice pick grip like Phil just demonstrated. So what this all does is it trains you to have to deal with a weapon first, where a lot of martial arts will start you dealing with empty hands first, and then eventually you'll progress to using weapons. And what you'll find a lot of times, for instance, if you start off doing boxing or kickboxing, you'll do different defenses that they don't treat the hand as if it has a weapon in it, or if it's a bladed weapon, you don't treat the hand like that. A lot of times in boxing you'll do counters that involve covering the hand, shoulder rolling, ducking, covering, stuff like that. And you just can't do those things when there's a weapon involved, because if it's an impact weapon like a stick, you'll get your hand broken. If it's a bladed weapon like a knife, then you'll get cut, obviously. And so this teaches you from the very beginning, from day one, that you have to respect the hand as if it's got a weapon in it at all times. And so eventually down the road, as we're going to talk about Scott and AJ over here, Scott and AJ are doing the different forms of hubud. So that you see they started off with the knife, and they were doing knife hubud. You guys want to pick up your knives real quick? And so they started off doing knife hubud. And so this is a very close range feeler drill. It's a drill that we'll use to get different energy from different people, and you'll go back and forth. And so this is done just like Anthony and Phil were doing with the hubud in the middle. They're doing hubud here, then they can do a disarm. So he just did a quick release disarm, and then Scott arm wrenches there. And so he locked out to AJ's elbow. AJ dropped the knife. And now they can go into an empty-handed version of hubud, which is this is at the medium range for the hubud. They're punching, and then they can flow into elbow hubud, which is really close. And then they can push and move back on out into and grab their knives, so they can go back into the empty-hand hubud. And so this kind of creates drills. All these three drills are representative of flow drills that we have in the Filipino martial arts, that what we'll do is we'll use them to create a fluid situation that's constantly changing depending on the body type of the person in front of you. The range is constantly changing. Sometimes the pressure that you can put into the technique is changing, and you have to adapt to that as well. So very different from doing a static drill where you know when the punch is coming, you know what's going on. If you look in the middle, you can see Anthony and Phil are doing a free flow drill where neither of them really knows what the other one's going to throw, and they're just reacting to it. So the Filipino martial arts has many different things involved in it, but all of it starts off with a weapon. They have panantukan and pananjakman, which are the empty-handed weapons, or empty-handed arts within the Filipino martial arts. Panantukan is the empty-hand style. It deals with mostly the striking aspect from a boxing perspective, or an empty-handed style. The pananjakman is a foot fighting art. You also have arts like sikran or dumog. Dumog means wrestling. It's a wrestling or grappling style. It's all encompassed within all of this. When you start progressing past the weapons and getting into the empty-handed arts. I always tell everybody every day when I come to class, or when I go to take a new class, I always leave there and my head hurts more than my body, because I always realize there's so much to learn every time I go. Every time I teach, every time I go to my instructor, we always come away, our brain hurts a little bit, because there's always more to learn, more to get into it. It's a really beautiful art. A lot of Filipinos don't even know that they have a martial art that comes from their country, which is amazing to me that I find that out every day. I've been in martial arts since I was 7 years old. I'll tell you how long that is. That's a long time. They started off doing very static type martial arts, very traditional styles. And when I was able to spar with a boxer for the first time, I realized the benefit of having a real human being in front of you when you do the majority of your training, because it really increases the pickup from the techniques. So that's about all we have for you. We'll be around if you guys have any questions. I just want to finish up, and I want to tell you guys, I spent 7 years in the military. I have a tremendous respect for everybody that wears a uniform. You know, that's the reason. That's part of the reason we wanted to come out here today. And you know, I thank every day for the things that you guys provide for us that enable us to spend our days doing this when you guys are out doing the stuff that, you know, maybe we don't want to do. So thank you guys.